Hi guys, welcome back to the desktop for another rules breakdown, and this week I would like to do Trinity the role-playing game, a 1997 game from White Wolf Studios, which was originally released as Aeon Trinity, but the TV series Aeon Flux had just come out, so there was some legal harassing between the television company and the game studio, so the role-playing game was renamed to just Trinity. And it's a simplified form of the storyteller system that it uses, so we're going to see a lot of similar rules, but it has been streamlined and made a lot easier. But let's get on with it. Now, if we flip to a character sheet, which is nicely provided at the end, one of the lovely things about the Trinity role-playing game is that it comes in a ring-bound folder instead of just a book, so it will be easy to keep open. Now, the character sheet should be here. Yep. We can see we've got the similar physical, mental, and social attributes as we do in any of the World of Darkness games. So we've got strength, dexterity, stamina, perception, intelligence, wits, appearance, manipulation, and charisma. And each of those you put various pips into, and that tells you how many dice you roll. But also, you've got the skills beneath here. But rather than in the World of Darkness games, where you've got the skill list totally separate to the attributes, and you mix and match them as desired, most of the time the skills are going to match to the attribute they're under. The Games Master can still call for mixing and matching. So if he's asking, for example, an etiquette roll where you're trying to know something, instead of you actually being charismatic and using your etiquette, if you're just trying to remember some form of etiquette, he might call for intelligence plus etiquette. But most of the time, the skills go with the heading above them. Also different from most of the World of Darkness games is you're rolling a bunch of d10s, but there is only one target number. So let's say you are rolling your etiquette skill. Let's say you've got 3 in charisma and 2 in your etiquette. Then you're going to be rolling 5 dice. But you're looking for 7s and above. There is only one target number, so we roll. We get 5. Wow, that was one hell of a roll. That was quite impressive. I wish that had happened in a game. But that would be 5 successes, which grades how successful you were on your roll. In most of the storyteller games, ones when you roll a skill take away from your successes. If you roll a bunch of dice, you roll some successes. If you roll ones, then you take away from successes, leaving you a net number of successes. However, in Trinity, it doesn't work that way. Ones only count if you have no successes at all, and build up as a level of botch. So if you have no successes but you have a 1, then you've made a mistake. If you've got no successes but you have 5 ones, then you've made a massive mistake. Now, initiative works slightly differently to the other storyteller games as well, because in the other storyteller games you tend to roll your wits plus alertness, and the number of successes is where you go in the turn sequence, highest winning. But in Trinity, you're adding your wits to your dexterity, and then rolling 1d10 and adding. So let's say we've got dexterity of 3, we've got wits of 2, we've already got 5. We roll a dice, we get a 3, we go in phase 8. And the highest wins and goes first. So in combat, you're making a strength plus brawl for a hand-to-hand attack roll, or a dexterity plus firearms to shoot at a target. And it's just an ordinary skill roll, so you're adding the skill to the attribute and rolling that many dice. Let's say 5 again. Let's just keep everything as 5. So we roll, and once again, we have 5 successes. These dice are really loving me today. So we've got 5 successes, so that's a hit. Unless, of course, the character's attempting to evade. So if somebody's in hand-to-hand, they can try a brawl plus strength to sort of parry an attack. But most of the time, you're trying to dodge out of the way, so it's dexterity plus alertness. So we'll roll 5 dice. And they don't love as much on this one. So there's only 2 successes. So the attacker in this case would have a net of 3 successes to hit the target. Like other storyteller games, damage is based on your strength plus the damage of the weapon, or just the damage of the weapon in the case of firearms. So in brawling maneuvers, or if you're using a sword or a knife or whatever, you'll be adding the damage of the weapon to your strength and rolling that number of dice. So if you've got a strength of 3 and the weapon does +2 damage, you'll be rolling 5 dice. Whereas you're looking up the damage of the weapon if you're using firearms. Of course, also your net successes carry over. So in the roll we did, we had 3 successes. One of those is hit, the remaining 2 add to the damage. So if we flick over to page 264 in the rulebook, we can see various ranged weapons, which go from the Banshee Cyclone pistol, doing 4d10, up to laser carbine, doing 8d10. So we're rolling a number of dice, plus our net successes. So let's say it's just a pistol, we're rolling 4d10 plus 2 net successes, so we're rolling 6 dice, 5, 6. So we have 6 dice, and we have a nice selection. We've managed to get 4 hits there. Now targets can soak damage, so they would be rolling their stamina plus any armor against the damage. However, lethal damage, as done by firearms, cannot be soaked by your stamina, except in the case of very high staminas. So if we flick on a few pages here to page 241, optional rule lethal soak. So somebody with a stamina of 2 or 3 can get to soak 1 dice of lethality, whereas a stamina of 4 or 5, they get to roll 2 dice. But that's an optional rule. But most of the time, you're rolling your stamina dice plus any armor to resist ordinary sort of brawling damage, whereas lethal damage, you're just rolling your armor. So let's say they've got a couple of points from armor. Let's say it's fairly light armor. There's 1 success there. Our 4 net successes are now down to 3. And we've got the health levels here. Rather than the 7 health levels of the other storyteller games, we've got 9. So 3 boxes checked off takes us up to injured, and we're now losing 1 dice from all our dice rolls. Now in Trinity, use experience for advancement. Now, this doesn't give you levels, such as in games like Dungeons & Dragons, but you spend the experience like in the other storyteller games. So if we flick over to page 172, 172, we can see awarding experience points. The storyteller awards 1 point for end of every story, for discovery when they understand something new and significant about themselves, exceptional roleplay, heroism, wisdom, creativity, and cohesion, working well together. So it actually awards points for playing well as a team. And then you can spend your experience points. So you can create your traits. So your attributes cost the current rating times 6. So if you've got a current rating of 2 and you want to increase it to 3, it costs you 12 points. An ability costs you current rating times 4. So current rating is 2, you want to increase it to 3, it's going to cost you 8. Backgrounds, aptitude modes, willpower, psi, and initiative all cost different rates on the current ratings, and you can buy new abilities and specialities at 4 points at the cost of the current rating, with specialities costing a max of 3 per ability. So that is Aeon Trinity, or just Trinity role-playing game. It's a nice simplified form of the storyteller system, although I do think it loses some of the interesting complications that the storyteller system has, which allows it to tell such good stories. But it's a fun little game. It's got some very interesting ideas in there, but I think it's suffered from having to introduce players to a brand new universe, whereas other sci-fi games tend to be based on things like Star Trek or Star Wars that the players are already familiar with, whereas Trinity, you've got to buy people into a total universe that they don't know anything about. But anyway, I've whittled on for quite long enough as usual. Thank you very, very much for watching as always. Please like, subscribe and comment below, because it does me favours with the YouTube algorithm. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.